And it is another edition of Hoops Jason on the Athletic NBA Show. David Aldrich here in D.C. In the Bay, our man Marcus Thompson back trying to. Oh wait, were you? Unless you were in, were you in L.A. last night? Were you? You're on mute. Come
No,
on,
I'm in the town, baby.
You in the town? Okay, I just
Yeah.
wanted to make sure. I didn't know if you were watching the end. But our man who was watching the end, who was covering the Nuggets and will cover the Nuggets for the Athletic during the NBA Finals, our guy Tony Jones joins us. TJ, what's up?
What up? Morgan State University, HBCU.
HBCU, let's go, baby.
Yes, see.
Let's
My
go.
niece will be attending Morgan State University next year. So after
I'm gonna hook her up with my daughter.
There you go. There you go. She'll be coming. She's trying to get into that nursing life. You know what I'm saying? So
all right.
Yeah. So she'll be there next year. So
that's what I was doing when we went to Morgan State to kick it. We was trying to get into that nursing life.
I just don't know how to respond to that, Marcus.
No, I have no way. I'm just gonna ignore. I'm just gonna pretend he didn't say it. I'm gonna move on. All right, Tony Jones. You all Nuggets all the time during the playoffs. And these dudes have been amazing, and they capped it off with some sweepage of your boy LeBron.
Well, hold on, DA. First off, can we just acknowledge the adeptness of my guy who can hop off one team and jump on another without issue?
Y'all know Tony Jones covers the Utah Jazz for us, right? And then they said, "What? But we need somebody to cover the Nuggets." And he was like, "Bet, let's do it."
Real and hooper.
You know what I'm saying?
You know what I'm saying?
Any system, any coaching.
What they said was, well, we need somebody to cover the Nuggets. And what I said was, oh, that's cool. It'd be fun. I'll hop on them for a series. And what they said was, no. You don't understand. You got them. Like, oh, okay. They were like, strap in. This could be a while.
Right. All right. So how long a flight from SLC to Denver?
SLC to Denver is an hour and 21 minutes. I've got the time down to the minute now.
Right.
Yeah, that's
not too bad, but still, you're away from home. I understand.
It's not bad at all, unless you count in the turbulence, which is always terrible.
Ooh, see, that's why I can't be doing that shit no more.
Yeah,
no. You can't. Your boy can't fly over the Rockies like he used to. You know what I'm saying?
it is absolutely. Listen, everything that they say about the turbulence around Denver and Salt Lake and Phoenix as well. Everything they said about it, it's real. It's all.
I remember a flight. I went from Denver to Portland, which is not a long flight. It's like a little under 2 hours. It's the worst flight I've ever been on in my life. I mean, it was just nonstop for $1.45 from the minute we took off to the minute we landed. Just, man, bad.
And
I ain't been awake on a flight in years.
I know. See, I hate you. I hate people that can do that. I hate you.
I can't do that. And the pilot tells you when you're over. They like the pilot gets on and he's just like, listen, you know what it is. There's nothing we can do about it.
Right.
So
y'all ain't getting no beverage service today. Just deal with it.
Maybe you'll see a flight attendant giving out some water, maybe not.
Right. Out of a hose.
Exactly.
Just get your 2 slurps in and be gone with it. You know.
If you need to go to the bathroom, do it now.
Right. But you know what, Tony? Nobody cares about that. Nobody cares about our problems.
No.
So let's talk about these Nuggets, man. These Denver Nuggets in their first NBA Finals, the last of the 4 ABA teams that made the merger to get to the finals. Bro, they are so good. I mean, you don't even know where to start with these guys. Obviously, Jokic is the centerpiece, but damn, they're good.
You know, I made the comparison, I think, on Twitter a couple of days ago, but they remind me of the 2014 San Antonio Spurs. That's who they remind me of. The ball movement, the fact that, you know, they have 5 guys offensively, you know, everything defensively in today's day and age in terms of being a playoff team and how good you are defensively is how good your team, how many guys that you can put on the floor that don't have to be hunted. So usually you can get away with one guy, but you can't get away with one guy with Denver because all five of their guys can score. All 5 of their guys can do something offensively. And the modicum of today's NBA is, can you dribble, pass, and shoot? And every last one of Denver's guys can dribble, pass, and shoot. They can do all of those 3 things. So, you know, Jokic is, you know, for me, He's definitively the best player in the world. I don't know that there's anybody in the conversation at this point. And, Jamal Murray has gotten back to the Jamal Murray that we saw pre-injury. And, for the first time in that era, the Murray, Malone, Jokic era, the supporting cast around them is absolutely perfect. They have long, rangy, athletic guys who can switch defensively throughout the lineup, who make it really tough to do anything off the dribble, but they can also play offense. It just makes them, deep and versatile, and their top end talent is the best player in the world. So it's going to be really difficult for them to be beaten at this point.
I think you hit the nail on the head. Like, I don't think we understood how perfect the supporting cast was until they got in this scenario. I mean, we watched it all year, but it's regular season. But seeing it play out, I mean, could they have done any better than KCP? Like, there are literally stretches where KCP's like, "Hey, yo, I got this. I'm about to hit 3 straight buckets. I got us right now." And Bruce Brown, like, they've been more perfect than even I thought. Like, does it feel that way live when you're there? Like, these dudes are going to show up for him every night somehow, some way.
Yeah, it's really been eye-opening, right? Because, I was one of the people who, I was going through the regular season. Yeah, like, nice team, number 1 seed, cool, okay, yeah. Second round,
that's cute. They're
going to run into Kevin Durant, and that's going to be that.
Yep.
And and I think it's, you can learn something in this business, and if you're not learning in this business, then what are we doing here, right? When, for me, watching these dudes up close for 2 months, I was so completely wrong about them, and I was wrong about Jokic. I argued with Nuggets fans for years, like, yeah, he's a top 5 player, sure. Is he the number 1 player in the world? For me, hell no. No, I take LeBron, I take this person, I take that person, and he's been, definitively the number 1 player in basketball in the playoffs. So, it's just one of those things where, as much as you know about hoop, as much as you watch it, sometimes you just got to see it up close, and seeing these Nuggets up close, it's been an eye-opening experience.
And DA, that's not a knock, right?
Like, right. Of course not. Of course
that's how it goes. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's like real basketball right there. Like, exactly. What you describing is literally how we were raised, right?
Right.
Like, I don't like this dude. You watch him, like, man, Larry Bird, nice.
Man, Larry Bird, nice, man. I don't care what
y'all
talking
about.
Jokic is good.
Jokic is essentially a 7-foot Larry Bird.
Man, facts.
Unbelievable how he can control the game no matter where he is on the floor, in the post, facing, on the break, and he never seems to make a bad decision with the basketball. You know what I'm saying?
I think you got to look at, to give context to how good Jokic was. Last night, LeBron James turned in an all-time performance with an all-time impact. Like, he took the game by the throat, and Jokic matched that level. How many times over 20 years have you seen LeBron James say, "Okay, I'm going to take over this game. I'm going to put up a 40-point triple-double on 65% shooting. And then I'm going to guard the best player on the other team, and I'm going to guard through." How many times have you seen LeBron do something like that, but then the guy on the other team just matched that level?
The only time was like when he was going against one of the greatest teams of all time. Like KD and 7, like, where it was like, that was the only time where it was like, it didn't matter. You know what I'm saying? But any other time, it's like, that's enough. And the question isn't whether that works, it's how often he can do it. But when he summons it, like, that's usually ball game. The crazy part to me, Tony, and you know this because you a PG, right? New York PG at that. Like, you know how, like, LeBron at the end of the game, like, LeBron's got the ball. Like, these great players, they got the ball. But generally, they don't really have a point guard, right? Like even back to Jordan, like it was Paxson, it was BJ Armstrong. These ain't dudes who like, yo, give me the ball, I got this. The Nuggets have Jamal Murray, who's like, yo, like, yo, I got this. Like, I'm basically an all-star level. Like, I got this. And still, it's like, yo, get out the like Jokic just under the basket, getting the inbounds on a team with Jamal Murray, and nobody thinks it's the wrong decision. Like, this dude is insane.
Today's show is brought to you by our friends at Chime. Visit chime.com/NBA show for more information. Good money habits start with your very first paycheck. And if you just scored your first job, you got an opportunity to jumpstart a healthy financial journey. When you sign up for Chime and link a qualifying direct deposit, you get access to benefits like getting paid up to 2 days early and fee-free overdraft up to $200. And with Chime, there are no monthly fees, no minimum balance, and no deposit required to become a member. So sign up for a Chime checking account today to link your paycheck. It only takes 2 minutes and doesn't affect your credit score. Get started at chime.com/NBA show. That's chime.com/NBA show. Chime is a financial technology company, not a bank. Banking services and debit card provided by the Bancorp Bank N.A. or Stride Bank N.A. Members FDIC. Early access to direct deposit funds depend on payer. SpotMe eligibility requirements and overdraft limits apply. See chime.com/spotme.
And you know what? And that's essentially what sunk the Lakers, right? Like, you know, I thought LeBron was one of the 2 best players in the series. I thought he was the second best player in the series throughout the series. But for the Lakers to have won, they needed 2 of the 3 best players in the series. And Nikola Jokic was the best player in the series by a lot. And, you know, whether you agree with me or disagree with me with LeBron, he was one of the 3 best players of the series. But Jamal Murray was also one of the 3 best players.
He was a 50-40-90 in the series. You know what I'm saying?
50-40-90
on 30.
He had a 30-point half.
Jeez.
I mean, in game 1, he was making stuff from the rafters, and that's what sunk the Lakers, right? They could not afford to not have 2 of the best 3 players in the series and lose the depth battle, which is exactly
because 5, 6, 7, and 8 is different.
Yeah.
right.
I mean, you know, and you know, the one thing that was really subtle, that I don't think anybody realized was that, you know, that was an 8-man rotation for the entire playoffs. Christian Brown was in that rotation playing significant minutes. Michael Malone realized by game 2 that Christian Brown could not play in this series and took him out of the series. And he did it subtly. And he just said, okay, I'm just going to go with 7 throughout the entire series. It took Darvin Ham until game 4 to realize that D'Angelo Russell couldn't play in the series and take him out of the starting lineup.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, that's going to be
Vanderbilt too, by the way.
And Vanderbilt, because like you said, yeah, he can guard people, but at the other end, what's he giving you? You know, like it's just not, you got to be at least two-way plausible. You don't even have to make shots, but you got to be plausible.
Right.
Two-way.
So it came down to, once Michael Malone took Christian Brown out of the series, that took his 15 minutes out of a game out of the series where the Lakers said, oh, I could just slough off of you and I could just clog the lane. And so then it came down to the point where the Lakers were like, well, all right, well, we got to clog the lane against Aaron Gordon. Guess what? Aaron Gordon at some point is going to make some shots if they're their shots. And last night he made 3 threes and scored 22 points. So, I mean, it's, you know, the Denver is the biggest and best pick your poison team in this playoffs. They can score, you know, obviously they can score at the basket because Jokic and Aaron Gordon can score at the basket. They can score in the mid-range because Jamal Murray is a mid-range assassin. And obviously with pretty much everybody on their roster, they can score from above the arc. And they can score, and they score in transition. They're much better in transition than people give them credit for.
Yeah, I was a big proponent, having watched KCP in Washington last year. I knew how good he was, man. I just thought that was a perfect pickup for them. being able to the guy that, and Marcus, you remember we had Bruce Brown on the show, right? And he was saying like, yo, man, I can do a lot more than I did in Brooklyn. I just didn't really get the chance in Brooklyn, like, and we were, you respect that, but you didn't know if he could do it. But then you see him above the break, you see him making passes as well as defending and doing all the stuff with the ball that he was known for before he got to Brooklyn. You know what I'm saying? So those were perfect pickups by Calvin Booth. Perfect for the type of team that needs to surround Jokic and Murray, and the way that they want to play. Just picture perfect. I don't know. Have you talked to Calvin yet, or are you going to talk to him? I know you've got something set up with him.
Yeah, I'm going to talk to him. I talked to him last night briefly.
Yeah.
We just talked about the roster and things like that. One of the things that, if I'm Calvin Booth, I'm sending Christmas cards to Brooklyn for the way that they use Bruce Brown in Brooklyn, because you know how this league is. What have you done for me lately? So when Bruce Brown hit free agency last summer, the league didn't look at him and say, oh, he's a 1-2-3, which is what he played in Detroit. They looked at him and they said, oh man, he's a 6'4", 4'5", who played out of the dunker spot in Brooklyn, which and that in turn meant that he was available on day 2 in free agency, and Denver was able to come in,
drastically lowered his value.
And they were able. Denver was able to come in and pluck him in day 2 of free agency, and it's turned out to be one of the impact signings of last year's free agency.
Today's show is brought to you by LinkedIn. Visit linkedin.com/NBA show 23 for more information. Are you struggling to close deals? Cold outreach is wasting the time of both the buyer and the seller at every stage, especially when the sellers are using shallow and outdated data. Your organization can overcome these challenges with technology that translates comprehensive, high-quality buyer data into real-time insights. These deeper insights empower sales reps and teams to adopt the habits of top performers, which leads to better outcomes, like more pipeline, higher win rates, and larger deals. We call this deep sales, and we've built the first deep sales platform with the next generation of LinkedIn Sales Navigator. Right now, you can try LinkedIn Sales Navigator and get a 60-day free trial at linkedin.com/NBA show 23. That is linkedin.com/NBA show 23 for a 60-day free trial. Let LinkedIn Sales Navigator help you sell like a superstar today. Just go to linkedin.com/NBA show 23 and get started.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk afterwards about like Jamal Murray. Jokic spent most of his post game talking about Murray. What's the sense from the team about just how they felt him making it here? He missed 2 playoffs, right? And him getting back to where he was. It seems like that's a big deal in that locker room for Murray to experience this. Did you get that sense in there?
Yeah, absolutely. Because, he missed 2 years. Not only did he miss 2 years, you get a guy who misses 2 playoff runs with an ACL, and, how many organizations would have been that patient with him, that to the point that Denver was. And, they at one point, Murray went to the organization, was like, hey, are you going to trade me? And, the organization was like, no, we're not, you're our guy.
They were like, bruh, what can we get for you right now? You ain't playing. Like, what are you talking about?
Listen. I've seen stranger things happen.
Hey, Ben Simmons raises his hand, right?
Right.
I've seen stranger things happen. But he's gotten back to, it's taken a lot of rehab, a lot of hours. He's had a lot of hours in the dark, in terms of, just, can I get back to this level? Can I be Jamal Murray? Can I do this? Can I do that? And, when I talked to him, I talked to him for a story that I did, 3-4 weeks ago. And, and he says, there are times once every 2 games, my knee locks up on me. And it just reminds me, my knee reminds me like, hey, we're still only about 90, 95, 96% back. He still doesn't have the explosion that he had before the injury. He still doesn't have the lift that he had before the injury. But as you can see, the shot making, the ability to get to where he wants off the dribble, the ability to shoot over a chair, all of that stuff is there. And for that guy, for a guy like that to go through what he's gone through, and for his teammates to see, how much he's gone through, that's one of the reasons why, this roster is so happy for him.
I'm just thrilled that you talked about the patience that the Nuggets have shown, and Marcus talked about it too. And this is part of I wrote about the Celtics today, and again, it's not that I think Joe Mazzulla is a great coach. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying he's a great coach, and I'm not saying they shouldn't take a look at their roster. What I am saying is that sometimes you fall victim to this kind of knee-jerk, somebody must pay, somebody must be blamed for our losing. And we throw somebody under the bus or over the side or whatever metaphor you want to use. And the Nuggets didn't do that. They had every opportunity to fire Mike Malone. They wouldn't trade Jokic. They could have traded Murray 100 times for a all-star player, right? Like a guy that's at his level. And they didn't do that. They kept their group together. And now you see the fruits of that. And I'm not saying it's not easy, and I'm not saying it's even the right path, but I'm saying it is a path, and I would like to see more teams do that than just we have to fire the coach because we lost a playoff series.
Yeah, and one of the other things they could have done, they could have traded Michael Porter Jr.
Correct. Yep.
And they did not. And he 3 or 4 years ago, you would have looked at him and said he has a lot of growing up to do. Well, guess what? He's grown up and he's playing defense. He's finally figured out that, hey, my coach is not going to play me if I don't defend. And he's finally figured out that he's defending. I've still see a sprinkling of this sometimes, but he was a really big my turn shooter. And a my turn shooter is, for those who don't know, I haven't touched the ball in 5 possessions. This is going up no matter what. And, he used to really struggle with that. He still struggles with that on occasion, but it's a lot less pronounced than it used to be. And, he's played this entire postseason without ego. And I think that, for Michael Porter Jr. to make that transition in terms of maturation, I think that's been a really big and untalked about impact on this run as well, because Bones Highland didn't grow up.
Right.
And Bones Highland, he was at a point where he was like, I need more shots. And the Nuggets were like, okay, we're not going to deal with this guy. We're trying to win a championship. If you guys aren't all pushing one way, we're going to have to get rid of you. And that's why Bones Highland was traded to the Clippers. So, for MPJ to make that leap in maturation and to just come out and play this playoff run and say, okay, I'm just going to do what needs to be done. I'll take whatever shots that are there. I think that's had a really big impact on this run as well.
The other player, Tony, it feels like, I don't know if he's matured, but this is probably the most effective we've seen him is Aaron Gordon.
Yeah.
It's crazy too, because he made his name in this league with his hops in the dunk contest, and he's never felt more valuable than now when he kind of barely dunks. Like he doesn't provide the highlights anymore, but it's sustenance, right? It's defensive like acumen, like it's hustle, it's rebounding. Like to me, he feels like a testament to like how much winning can change an entire reputation of a player. You know what I'm saying? Like it feels like he senses that. What's he like in that locker room, and how do they regard him, especially after he spent the series guarding LeBron, basically?
Man, he's I think he's one of my favorite players in the locker room. I've had, he's the one guy I've had, a lot of conversations with, just kind of off the record. Him and Jeff Green, I've had a previous relationship with Jeff from when he was with Utah. So, and, me and Jeff were, instantly cool. We just kind of picked up where we left off. But Aaron has been really cool as well. The thing about Aaron, his first cousin used to play at the University of Utah, and he still lives in Utah, and I'm really good friends with him. So I kind of knew Aaron a little bit through his cousin, and okay. Aaron also worked out with the Jazz when he was coming out of Arizona. So I remember him from there. He's defended Karl Anthony Towns in one series, and he went from Karl Anthony Towns to Kevin Durant in another series, and he went from Kevin Durant to LeBron James. And, obviously we talked about LeBron's game last night, but, before last night, Aaron made him work. LeBron's LeBron. LeBron's still going to get his numbers no matter what you do, but he had to work. He's had to work for it. And I thought it was symbolic that Aaron got the last second block on LeBron, considering how good he's been defensively throughout this entire postseason. And like we talked about earlier, he knocked down 3 big threes last night, 22 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, just getting out in transition.
Hey Tony, that third one felt like he went to the buffet too much. Huh? I was like, nah, don't get greedy, and he hit that thing. No, yeah, he hit that thing. No,
then it went in.
I was like, come on, AG, calm down.
But the other thing is, 2 of those 3 threes were from above the break, when Aaron Gordon normally only shoots corner threes. So if he hits an above the break 3, you're really actually cooking with gas, and he hit 2 of them. I was like, both times he pulled from above the break, I was like, okay. And then I was like, oh, well, I guess we need to pack this up. This series is over.
This is a wrap.
Today's show is brought to you by Philo. Visit philo.tv and use the promo code NBA Show to get 50% off your first month. There's nothing better than unwinding, watching a little TV every now and then. But the hassle of finding what to watch, and to be fair, the cost of cable just doesn't make it worth it. That's why I completely cut the cord. And if you love TV, Philo is your solution. Philo has shows, movies, and live TV for just $25 a month. No contracts, no commitments, no hassle, just a better way to watch TV. Philo also has unlimited DVR for 1 year, so you can save all those shows that you're probably never going to get around to watching. It also allows multiple profiles and multiple streams, so everyone in the house can have their own saved shows and up to 3 streams at the same time. And if you can't get enough TV, there's no better way to watch, because Philo has over 70 channels, including BET, VH1, AMC, and Vice. If you're still not convinced, try it yourself with a free 7-day trial. Sign up today at philo.tv. That's philo.tv, and use promo code NBA Show to get 50% off your first month.
So I saw one of your tweets, man, and I don't want to open this can of worms, but it is part of the narrative about the Nuggets. It is the disrespect angle that they talk about all the time, day after day. And like most things, is some of it warranted? Yes, sure. They did not get the attention that a team with their winning percentage. He hates
this, Tony. He hates this.
It just drives me nuts. But to say that the idea that Jokic isn't respected just is like, wait a minute, he's a 2-time MVP. He won it twice. What are you talking about? What do you mean he doesn't get respected? He literally was given the award as being the best player in the league 2 years in a row, and he finished second this year. What are you talking about?
Well, let me ask this.
Me nuts.
Let me ask you this. If Jokic gets a 2-time MVP, and a media member, I don't know how respected I am, but a media member like myself, I'll use myself as the example. I say, you know what? Nikola Jokic is either the 5th or the 6th best player in the league. I would go.
You talking about Tony Johnson?
Yeah, I'm talking about me. Listen, I would say like before this playoff run, I would have gone. I would have said Giannis. Then I would have said Steph. Then I'm saying KD and LeBron, and I'm not talking about regular season. I'm talking about postseason.
Yeah.
As the postseason, and then I'm getting to Nikola Jokic and Luka Doncic, right? All right. So is that was I being disrespectful to Jokic heading in?
Yes.
Okay.
You were. But I was
me thinking
I
that
don't
he's
think
the
so.
fifth best player in the league in a playoff setting, that if that was disrespectful to Jokic, then maybe the Nuggets have
but you're one media member. My point is that
I'm not the only one that thought that, though.
I understand that. No, you're right. You're right. But what I'm saying is, like, you can have a discussion, and this is the problem. We can't have a discussion about anything anymore. Like, you could have a discussion about Jokic versus Embiid versus Giannis versus Steph, right?
Right.
I happen to think Jokic is 1 or 2 in the league, and I thought that all year. Like, there are 3 guys. At the end of the day, you got to pick one first. I picked Embiid first. I'm trying to remember if I picked Jokic second or third, because Giannis was in there. I cannot remember. I'm not going to say one way or the other because I'll be wrong. But it's not the same as thinking that nobody, the argument or the narrative that you would hear is that everybody hates Jokic, and that's just not true.
Right.
That's not true. Like, people don't think Jokic can play. That's not true. Everybody thinks Jokic can play. It's just a matter of, do you pick him or somebody else to be the MVP in a given year? That doesn't mean you hate Jokic. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's nuance here that you have to have. Even as a fan, you have to have some nuance about your team and your star player.
Well,
I think it's not. I'm with Tony on this in the sense that why shouldn't Jokic have to go through this? What superstar, what elite player has not gone through this exact same thing? Yeah, why should Jokic not get the same? Like, if he's on that level, he's got to go through this. And you know what? If he don't win a championship, it ain't over. Like, he's still gonna have to hear it. You got to win. Like, he is of that cloth. But who are we kidding? Like, this ain't his first postseason. He ain't 5 years in. Like, this is 8th season, right? Like, he's had time to win a championship, and he hadn't done it. He's had some good playoff runs. He's had some suspect ones. He's got it, but he ain't done this before. So, okay, I think it's fair that some people weren't gonna crown him with the likes of LeBron and Steph and Giannis if he hadn't done this yet, right? Like, to me, like, this is a natural progression for what his career has been. It was fair to wonder if he was this guy, but now at this point, anybody questioning that is crazy. Right. But to me, it was fair.
That's what it is.
Fair.
Like, that's what it is.
No, that's a good point. That's a good point.
And that was my point for me. I'm like, okay, people are saying, how can you have him as the 5th best player in the world? I'll say, okay, because I judge the best players in the world by what they do at the highest levels of basketball. And right now, at the highest levels of basketball, I'm taking Giannis, Steph, I'm taking LeBron, and I'm taking Kevin Durant. And everybody else is after those 4. And those 4 guys have all earned it. Those are all guys who have won championships and who have NBA Finals MVPs, all of them. So the fact of the matter is that, you know, when I was having this argument and everybody on Twitter was calling me everything but a child of God, you know, I said what Jokic has to do for me is he has to have a deep playoff run and he has to dominate a playoff run. Well, he's done it. Like, he's been historic. He's averaging a triple-double. He's doing things that only Wilt Chamberlain have done. Okay? Like, he's been indescribable. And, you know, so now my thought right now is that Nikola Jokic is the best player in the world. And, you know, I don't know who's second, but at this point, we're just fighting for second at this point.
Right. Yeah, no, he's that debate's over. Right. I mean, he has been sensational. You mentioned something at the beginning I wanted to circle back with. You said that seeing him for 2 months has impacted what you think of him. Give me the nuances of what he does, and the kind of in the weed stuff that he does that you would have to watch him play every night to see.
Let's go hoop head, Tony. Let's get in that basketball mind.
No, this is easy. There are two guys in the world who impact every single possession, who can slow you down, who you can't speed up, and that's Nikola Jokic and LeBron James. There's the only two guys that can that can take over every single possession and impact every single possession and control things every single possession. It's like Magic Johnson. And he and LeBron are the two best passers in the league. But the way he's, this is going to seem absolutely silly to say, but Nikola Jokic, who had 30 points, 14 rebounds, 13 assists last night, his impact even went beyond those numbers, and his impact goes beyond his numbers every night, which is crazy because his numbers are bonkers. And he just the way he influences every set, not only offensively but defensively. And you looked at, like, people talk about, okay, well, you could take advantage of him and pick and roll. Anthony Davis tried to post him up a number of times in this series, and Jokic just stonewalled him. And it's just one of those things where he's such a good player at every facet, and he impacts every facet that it's just hard to describe how good he's been in this playoff run.
Well, to me, the element that I feel like would be gained from watching a lot of Jokic is like the numbers are one thing, but I think we got to include the novelty that he's huge. Like he's doing this.
He's ginormous,
and he's
huge.
He
takes up a lot of space.
It's like the opposite of Steph, right? When you look at Steph and you be like part of the novelty is he's 6'3" and he's doing this, right? It's like this is not supposed to happen. It's similar with Jokic. Like, you're not supposed to be 285 pounds doing this. Yeah. Like that's not how it's supposed to go. And
shooting one-legged jumper, one-legged threes.
That's the part where you just gotta witness it, right? Like, how we gonna be, Tony. We gonna be 70 years old in a barbershop somewhere, you know what I'm saying, with something in our hand in a brown paper bag. Talking about, man, it was this one dude, you know what I'm saying? He was like,
called him the Joker. Yeah, called him the Joker.
Like that's how the OGs talk about, like, Larry Bird. And like, right. Yeah, that boy was cold. He's one of them type figures where what you're watching, like, you got to grapple with it. It doesn't make the obvious sense. Kind of like when LeBron first came, it was like, we never seen nobody that big running like that. Right. Like it takes a minute to, like, you know what I'm saying, get the coal out your eyes and be like, oh, okay, like that. To me, that's Jokic, and I think a lot of people who didn't watch him because he plays in Denver, right? Yeah, because you don't get that much exposure. Like, it's just jarring. Like, I mean, Tony, you stood next to this dude, like, he's huge. And it puts a different perspective on what he does.
But the best thing that and this goes back to how perfectly they are designed. The best thing that he does defensively is that he shrinks the floor defensively with his size. Mm-hmm. And that's always been. There are two guys in the league who are like this, Nikola Jokic and Jusuf Nurkic. Mm. Both of those guys are so big and ginormous and wide.
Well, Brook Lopez is pretty good at it too.
Brook Lopez is the same way. Yeah. They shrink the floor defensively in the middle. So there's just less space in the middle because those guys are there, whether they rim protect or not. And Brook rim protects, Jusuf and Nikola, they don't rim protect. Yeah. But so the Nuggets, now you take Michael Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon, Bruce Brown, Christian Brown, and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. All of those guys are in between 6'5" and 6'8", or 6'5" and 6'10". They're all long, and they're shrinking the space on the perimeter. So what makes Denver such a good defensive team at this point is that there's no space on the floor. because those 6'5" to 6'10" guys with all long arms, real athletic, they're all shrinking the floor on the perimeter. And then you got this guy who's a plant in the middle who's shrinking the floor. So there's not a lot of room to play offense on the basketball court against the Denver Nuggets, and Nikola Jokic is a huge part of that.
All right, so let's get out on this. I think we can all assume Miami is going to win that series at some point. Whether it's
I don't know, man. They
got to
play the game.
All right, break it down for me. Heat Nuggets finals. Who you got? Who's winning that?
I think the Heat are going to be more competitive than any team that Denver's faced this year in the postseason, and I think Denver's still going to win it in 6.
Okay.
Okay. I just think that this is Denver's year at this point.
The only thing I worry about with Denver, and there's nothing they can do about it, is the layoff. That's the only thing I worry about with any team that's been rolling, that's been like really playing at a high level, and they've been playing every other day for 3 weeks now, and now all of a sudden you have a week off. Just remember when the Jazz, your team, had 2 weeks off, essentially had 13 days off between the conference finals and the finals. Is just how it went that year. And they never really seemed to get back to that level they were at before. That's my one, if I were a Denver fan, I would worry about is the layoff. But I agree with you.
Miami's going to have the same layoff after.
Probably. Probably. You're probably right.
Like if you're Eric Spoelstra, like, look, guys, we need a couple more games. Why don't we extend this a little bit?
Right.
Jimmy, how about you take the night off, Jimmy?
Right.
I do think the issue, I think, Tony, you described it perfectly. The way to beat that defense is you got to knock down threes, man. You got to like spread the floor offensively, which is like when the Lakers made threes, they were in good shape. They just couldn't sustain it. And I do think Miami can knock down.
Miami can, and especially if they get Hero back. That. Remember, they might get Hero back for the finals.
They can do that. So, it still feels like it's so hard to doubt Miami at all. It feels like every single doubt ever, like it's like it fuels them, right? It's like a power up in a video game. Like some dude in like San Antonio somewhere is doubting them, and they get the energy from it, right? It's like, but I mean, Denver feels like such a complete team. Like they just feel too complete. It feels like that's a lot.
Yeah, and I mean, we could everything that we just said about Denver, we could say about Miami as well. And I don't see at this point how you can doubt playoff Jimmy Butler, right? And I think the beauty of this series, if it is indeed Denver and Miami, is that we get the 2 best playoff performers in the same series going head to head.
Right, like at different positions too. So it's
at different positions. So it's going to be, a great game of chess, right? Like, how does Denver deal with Jimmy Butler? How does Miami, how big is Bam Adebayo going to be in that series? So, there are things that I could say about Miami, which is this, Denver's not going to see a better coach than they're going to see in Miami. I think Eric Spoelstra is the best coach in the world. And Denver's not going to see a better player in this playoff than, what playoff Jimmy Butler, the level of playoff Jimmy Butler is. Well, maybe LeBron, but, we'll see. But, I mean, if you look at the depth and you look at the top end talent and you look at it it's just hard to go against Denver in this series at this point.
Tony, go take a flight somewhere, man. Get up out of LA, because too long in LA ain't good for nobody. You feel me?
Nah, man. I'm gonna get on a plane. I'm gonna have some hibachi and get on a plane, and then I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna spend some time with my babies.
Absolutely. We appreciate you coming on Hoops Adjacent. David Aldridge has like broken his mic on purpose because I think he wants to get out of here. So I will do our outro. In the words of the great legendary Hall of Fame journalist who is featured on everything basketball related, leave those 5 stars. And if you can't leave 5 stars, keep it to yourself, you haters. We out.